Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Kane Williamson has declined a New Zealand contract and will relinquish the captaincy for the T20 and the one-day side, was the article released today. What the fuck is a question we've all said today. Is he retiring? What is the central contract? Why Kane? Why? He deserves to go out better than a game against PNG.
Oh, that is brilliant. It's a hero maximum. On the ground, down the ground, another hero maximum.
This is the Maximum Cricket Podcast. My name is Munter and I'm joined by Jacko. Again, this is an emergency podcast as we try and make some sense out of the massive news out of New Zealand, where arguably the greatest cricketer this nation has had is declining a New Zealand contract so he can play overseas when it suits, in a nutshell. Jacko, I'd love to hear your initial thoughts just when you read the headline, before you click on anything, when you see it on your news feed. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
First thing, it's got to be, I suppose you first think, fuck, is Kane done? Like, is he sort of retiring? Is this his soft exit, if you would? But I think, initial thoughts is like, oh shit, like Kane's done with international tournaments. He's done with Test cricket. He just wants to sort of do the circuit, essentially. Play the old black cat game here or there when it's convenient. But yeah, that was sort of the initial thoughts, was, is this the end sort of thing? But with most clickbait, as we'll get into, I think there's like a bit more going on than meets the eye here.
Yeah, I think you're sharing a lot of feelings around. I mean, I went to the pub just tonight to pick up the usual takeaway pizza option, and you sort of get a feel of the casual audience. And I got a few people come up to me and say, "Oh, did you hear the sad news? Kane Williamson is done," sort of thing. So that's sort of the feel around the camp. So I thought let's just strip it down. What is a central contract, and what does actually turning it down mean? So every year, New Zealand cricket, they give out 15 contracts. They are weighted towards the value each player brings to all formats, depending on
it's
what
20,
is
isn't it?
on that. Is it 20, is it? Okay, well, it's
20.
15. I wasn't sure of that number, so 20. We'll say 20.
Yeah, 20.
So it depends on the upcoming schedule. If there's a World Cup on in that year, they're going to weigh those contracts towards that format. If you're an all-format player, or if you're Kane Williamson, you're obviously in that top three in price, if not number one. They don't tell you who's number one, but it's fair to say Kane's pretty close to the top.
Essentially, they rank you 1 through 20, essentially.
Yeah.
1 through 30. 1 being most important in that format, essentially.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly how much they earn, but it's rumored to be around 500k for the top players. That's sort of the research I've done. That's around that sort of number. To put that in perspective, money-wise, the top 5 to 10 players in Australian cricket are rumored to be north of $1 million plus their match fees. Players, they get match fees on top of their base contract, so potentially Kane's looking at around 750k to $1 million, depending on how many games he plays. Players, on top of their earnings, they get injury cover, access to New Zealand cricket doctors, physios, etc. Actually, you'll know, having sort of academy contract, obviously it's not the same, but you'll sort of have a bit of an understanding on the outside perks of being a contracted cricketer.
Yeah, I suppose it's just, to break it down, I think the contract essentially becomes a retainer for these players. So you're being contracted to, New Zealand to have the first right of refusal, I suppose, for your services. They get to put a little bit of rules around you and whatnot. And with that comes caveats of, you'll be provided with playing kit, training facilities, training kit, access to coaching, physios, sports doctors, like all of that sort of covered. So it's essentially we want you as a cricketer, and this is what we'll provide you, and then you have to be available basically when we say.
And the other thing is you get paid when you're injured. So if you're going out on your own.
Yeah. So
if you're not available, if you're injured, you don't get paid for a tournament. Like it's just
so
pay
you
as
get
you go.
for the Black Caps, they're contracted year round, so they get 12 monthly payments for the year. Domestic cricketers are contracted for 7 months. They get 7 monthly payments in that period, regardless of injuries or playing time or anything like that.
So if you're going to play if you're a contracted player and you want to play an overseas T20 league, be it the IPL, Big Bash, whatever, you need New Zealand cricket to sign off on it. Generally, cricket boards do not allow their own players to go away during their home summer. They're either playing for the Black Caps or they want them in their own domestic league. So in a nutshell, we've got Kane, who's opting to turn down around 500k in guaranteed payments for the next calendar year. This means he will be able to pursue any league he chooses. He could make that money up playing in four to five tournaments a year while playing less cricket, in a nutshell. So what did Kane say? So the report that's come out, I'll just read it word for word and then we'll cut into it a little bit. So Kane's come out and said, helping the team push forward across all formats is something I'm very passionate about and something I want to keep contributing towards. However, pursuing an overseas opportunity during the New Zealand summer means I'm unable to accept a contract offer. He doesn't say what that is, but essentially there's a tournament he wants to play in instead of New Zealand summer. Playing for New Zealand is something I treasure, and my desire to give back to the team remains undiminished. My life outside cricket has changed. However, spending more time with my family and enjoying experiences with them at home and abroad is something that is even more important to me. Jacko, let's just cut through the bullshit. Let's cut through the PR. There's a lot of family chat. That's just what you got to say. I love playing New Zealand, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
You've hooked up Kane to a lie detector.
Yeah.
What's he saying? Why is he doing it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, essentially, the two big things you have to do as a Black Cap is play for New Zealand and play in the Super Smash if you're not playing for New Zealand. But the Super Smash is the moneymaker in New Zealand's domestic cricket. It's pretty much the only sort of form of the game that actually brings in any revenue outside of international cricket. So, yeah, I mean, they're obligated to play in that and play for the Black Caps is essentially what they're doing. Kane's got probably a deal for the BBL or that New South African League or a T10 or something that he doesn't want to miss because it's going to be way easier for him. So, yeah, he's pretty much said, oh, yeah. So he's pretty much saying, I don't want to play every Black Caps game and in domestic cricket this summer because there's a big gap in January. So he's gone, don't fancy domestic cricket. I could probably go make X amount. He's still going to get his match fees for New Zealand every time he plays. He's probably going to get a couple of tournament fees. And let's not forget, he has made a fuckload of money playing cricket. So, like, you know, him turning down a contract is, for us, would seem crazy, but for him, he's invested well, I'm assuming. He's probably got enough income coming in that it's actually not as big of a financial decision as we think it is, especially with a couple of other leagues lined up. So, yeah. But rumour on the street, being viciously spread by a former host of the show, is he's got R&B tickets and Steady wasn't going to let him go. So he's turned down the contract because he's going R&B.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, he has the power, being as good of a player he is, to make this decision. Obviously, we saw Trent Boult make a decision similar last summer or 2 summers ago, and it perhaps wasn't met with as much wiggle room. It was sort of like, well, you won't be playing that often, whereas they've sort of come out and said that our greatest ever batter has exceptions. So that, which is fair. Like, I don't doubt that. So I think, and he's 33 years old. He's earned the right to make as much money as he can as a player, because he's probably got 5 years. Five years is
dangerously young, actually.
Yeah, like he's sort of just got. But in terms of like his life, let's say he lives to 80. Yeah. We're talking a small range of his life. He can earn money while playing the game of cricket. So
His
he's by
it's his
rights.
big cash-in period now, isn't it?
That's right. And he can still, New Zealand Cricket have sort of said that there's a bit of wiggle room where you can still play. You've earned the right. And at this point with Kane, he could retire today. And he is definitely the best batter we've ever had. Definitely the second best player of all time for New Zealand. Arguably the first. He doesn't have to prove anything anymore. Everything he does from now on in adds to the legacy of Kane Williamson.
Yeah, and he's in the spot too where he doesn't have to justify what he needs to prepare for international cricket. I don't think. I think he can actually
after the T20 World Cup. That's not great timing on that one, on the preparation side of it. But your point is very true.
But I think for if he needs to play a test match, him playing, a couple of weeks of domestic cricket versus getting off the plane from a T20 tournament, I don't think the difference is going to be as great for someone like him. So yeah, we talked about this when Bolt did this, and I think it's a real juggling act for the calibre of player. I think there's probably two guys in New Zealand that could do it currently. Three if he was going to still play, which is Bolt, Kane, and I think Lockie Ferguson's potentially in that conversation shortly.
Yeah, I think
which actually went under the radar. Yeah, went under the radar today. He's also turned it down, which I suppose makes sense if he's only playing
not unsurprising.
No, he's genuinely probably not going to be a Test cricketer for New Zealand, and he is just he bowls gas. That's what he does. So his preparation to do that for New Zealand is going to be the same whether he's playing in leagues or domestic cricket. So outside of those guys, I don't think there's many that could actually do it. So it's interesting. We talked about dominoes to fall. I don't know if there's actually. I think Kane's one of the few that can do it. So fair fucks. He deserves to do it because he's given so much to the game. He's won New Zealand so many things. We're Test champions because of him. We've gone to so many finals. I don't think he, as you said, he doesn't have anything else to add in terms of legacy. It's all icing on the cake stuff from here for me. It'd be nice to get a one-day World Cup. It'd be nice to get some of that stuff. But he's got the big accolades. He's got the history. So, he deserves to earn his money and improve his lifestyle too, because I think that's a massive factor. People don't realise how much these caps are away from home during a year. So, to narrow down that is probably massive for him as well.
You touched on Ferguson, who he's declined a contract as well. It's gone under the radar, obviously. I guess the question is who's next. Who's sort of the next dominant? Because this is going to continue to happen, and you're right. It doesn't mean they're all going, because I think there's a fine line between are you it's a supply and demand thing. Are you worth it? Are you worth it to the market that is T20 franchise league to sort of get that pay and also have that sway with New Zealand cricket where, if required, you can just swoop back in for big tournaments, etc. Because you do risk someone playing better than you and then taking your spot. I think I've got sort of guys I think Southey is an option, being towards the end of his career. We talked he might be retiring soon. I think he's got enough. I think he's shown the T20 World Cup. He's got enough juice in the tank with that new ball to go earn a paycheck if he wants. Santner could do it if he wanted. He is good enough. He potentially could be a captain, which we will get to moving forward, because we haven't touched on that. Guys like Glenn Phillips, Mitchell, these guys could do it. Will they do it? Is the real question. But I guess one thing we could potentially sort of answer, Jacko, new white ball captain. That's sort of gone under the radar a little bit. We've lost Kane now as T20 captain, one-day captain. I mean, I've sort of argued that I think Kane's part in the T20 team is sort of, thanks for everything you've done, but we need to move on. So I don't think that's going to be that big of a loss. But the one-day setup is definitely a loss. Who's the first name you think of?
I'll quickly touch on the who's next. I I think you said it quite well. I think there's actually not. We've spoken about this in the past. I don't think there's many guys who have a good enough skill set to forego international cricket, because I don't think New Zealand's a big enough market team on the international stage where our guys can just bin off playing for New Zealand. Like, I think they really do have to be Black Caps and playing really well for the Black Caps to get these overseas opportunities. So, like, I don't think someone like Finn Allen, I think, would be my prime example. I don't think if he binned off playing for the Black Caps, played the Super Smash, I don't think he's getting 3 to 4 gigs a year. But I think if he plays really well for New Zealand, he's probably getting 1 to 2. So yeah, I don't know if I don't know if a heap of guys could do it in New Zealand, if that makes sense. One person I could see doing it would be Anish Sodhi. I think he's actually got enough success in T20 cricket. He is a leg spinner, like offers that point of difference. I could see someone like Ish doing it, especially if he's, hasn't played at this World Cup, doesn't see that as sort of his way forward. So, yeah, I don't know if there's a heap of guys. I think Southey would retire, then do the circuit. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be an exodus of talent. And then white ball captain, there's one guy that springs to my mind. You've sort of said one, and I think this guy potentially could have been the Test captain as well, but I'd love to see Daryl Mitchell lead the boys.
So would I.
There's a bit about our Daryl. It's something about runs when back's against the wall. Like, he wants to fucking grit his teeth on something, get in a contest. He's feisty. Like, I just think that change of brand and change of personality could be good for this side. He's the kind of guy.
He's the kind of guy I don't know him at all, but just from outside looking in, he strikes me as the kind of guy I would run through a brick wall for. Like, he's like that guy. Let's take it to them. Like, he never backs down. Like, he's not in an arrogant way, but he doesn't. He always stands up to challenges, and I couldn't think of a better person to lead like your nation to battle.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, like, probably has a bit more of that McCullum side versus the Kane, but I think he's actually got that temperament, especially with his batting. Like, if you watch some of his innings, he's got that ability to dig in and be 20 off 100 and then push on. So, I'd love to see Daryl lead us, and I think because he plays T20s and one days, and then that probably opens him up to maybe be the Test captain after Southey as well. Because he's a little bit older, but I think he debuted later, so he's probably still got that desire to play another 5-6 years for New Zealand. So yeah, I put Daryl as number one on my wish list, I think.
Yeah, I'll sign off on it. Okay, my last question: how often do we see Kane in a cap shirt moving forward? Obviously, we didn't see a lot of Bolt. We'll probably see almost the end of Bolt, which is another thing. He said that he wants to play, he wants to keep playing. Is this a case where it's just like, hey, this is just January, I'm unavailable, or does this filter on through?
I genuinely think he'll play every test, bar maybe 2 tests against Bangladesh in April or March, like
away.
Yeah, I think he plays every home test. I think he plays I'd say he plays a fair bit of like top 5-6 test tours away.
Just the ones that are betting friendly.
Yeah, Aussie, South Africa maybe. I think he'll play a lot of test cricket still. I potentially see this as his way of extending his test career. I think this is him saying, I want to play lots of tests for New Zealand and I want to play T20 leagues. And I think that's what it's going to look like.
He's not playing tests. He's not playing tests like that's him saying I want to play heaps of tests, and it's not for the money. Like, he's just because there's
correct.
nothing like they're not giving him anything. He doesn't.
I don't think he plays
legacy stuff.
Nah, I don't think he plays another bilateral white ball series.
Yeah,
maybe the one just pre a World Cup, But I'd say, I'd say at least for the next 12 months, Test cricket, circuits, and then the Champions trophies, we will see him.
I second that. Okay, I will. Okay, I've got one more question. It's a simple one. Is this a good or bad thing?
I'm going to say good. Weirdly, I think this is actually what Kane needs, because from all accounts, he is just loves hitting balls, an absolute workhorse. Being the 3 format captain through probably our best era, there's a lot of ups and downs there, a lot of mental toll. So we could see some serious Test batting records fall, and I think he'll enjoy it. So for Kane, a good thing, and because I don't think it's going to be a sign of things to come with our best talent. I just think Kane's rare air. So yeah, I think this is a good thing for him personally and for the Test team, which is, a lot of people's pinnacle.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing in the situation we're in. This is just making the best of the situation you're in. It's inevitable that franchise leagues are taking over, and this is just a nice wee way of keeping one of the game's greats in and around your Test side, and also he can earn a bit of bunts on the side. And if a few guys that deserve it do the same thing, that just opens up contracts for guys below them to earn more money, and then it's just a flow-on effect. So I don't see obviously the whole picture. It sounds gloomy, but I think you're right. I think this is a good positive move for Kane and New Zealand cricket.
I'll leave you with a final question, which was discussed with long-time listener, first-time caller, Matt Hay today. Is it time for New Zealand to go to white ball, red ball contracts? I don't think there's enough money to give around to do it, but I don't hate the option.
Yeah. I think my suggestion a while ago was that we get rid of contracts and just go match fees, and just we don't need contracts, but we have series fees. But I think what you're going to lose, I think you need those base contracts.
Tough to tell a black cap hey mate, we'll rest you for this series. By the way, there's no retainer, there's no series payment. Unlucky.
That's one of the issues. I just thought it would be a way of boosting that payment up. But I guess I think you're probably right. I think there's going to be more tweaking moving forward to the contract systems.
Well, there you go. First emergency pod.
I think we nailed that. I think we hit that really well. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's going to be okay, Cats fans.
It could be our most informative 23 minutes yet.
100%. Righto. Till next time.